The FIA GT1 World Championship is made up of 24 cars, 12 teams and 6 prestigious manufacturers. Aston Martin struggled in the opening round at Abu Dhabi, but is looking forward for more success on home ground at Silverstone. Frenchman Frédéric Makowiecki will be doing double duty this weekend, driving for the Hexis AMR team in both GT1 and GT3.
I'm very happy to do this for Hexis Racing. I hope that we can be really quick for the two championships.
The Corvettes are always strong. The Phoenix racing car fought back through the field in Abu Dhabi. Oliver Gavin has a huge amount of experience in the Corvette and is looking forward to racing with a new-to-him team in Mad Croc Racing, and at a track where he also has a lot of experience, albeit on a much different layout.
Well, the plan of action for the weekend is to do well, is to try and get the best possible result here for Mad Croc Racing. Tough, going to be a big test, but you know, it's great that we've got so many manufacturers here. Great to be back here at Silverstone.
The Ford GTs had mixed fortunes in the opening round. There was a big crash for Natasha Gashnang. She suffered a broken leg, but is already looking forward to her return. Romain Grosjean enjoyed a sensational debut win at Abu Dhabi in driving through the field and thoroughly enjoying his transition to GT1.
I did enjoy my time in the car, and I really had some good feelings inside. So it was a very exciting weekend, and taking the first lead of the championship was something interesting.
Lamborghini were contenders in the Middle East and are very involved in numerous battles among the top 10. Frenchman Christophe Bouchou scored the Lamborghini's first ever victory at Zhuhai in China a few years ago, and is looking forward to making his return with the all-Inkle team after missing the opening round at Yas Marina.
Zhuhai 2007 was a really great memory for me. First win for the Lamborghini.
Maserati has been a dominant force in GT1 in recent years. The MC12s were competitive in the opening races, finishing on the podium, perhaps just lacking in ultimate pace. Belgium's Bert Longin is making his debut with the brand this year after years of driving Corvettes, and is confident of a stronger showing this weekend.
It's a high-level championship, so we're really fighting and try to be in the front. It's not so easy.
Nissan made its full season debut in Abu Dhabi and struggled to match the front runners for outright speed. Of the two teams running the stunning GTR this year, one of them, Sumo Power, is based in Britain, with a British driver, Peter Dumbreck, at the wheel.
It's a circuit I know very well from my junior career. So far, we're kind of working on changes with the car to try and take in the characteristics of this circuit, because it seems to be a more bumpy circuit than the very smooth Abu Dhabi that we saw. We should be able to see a new winner this weekend, and I hope it's us.
The Battle of the Brands began 2 weeks ago in Abu Dhabi in the Middle East. Now we're at Silverstone on the brand new circuit, the arena circuit at the home of the British Grand Prix. Next, round 3 and Brno, the rolling hills in the Czech Republic. We go from there to the south coast of France and the Paul Ricard high-tech test track, a very fast layout indeed. From there, it is to two of the classic venues in Europe, Spa-Francorchamps, set deep among the Eiffel Hills in western Belgium, and then to the Nürburgring, the famed Nürburgring in the western Germany as well. It's a wonderful facility there, and from there it is to the Algarve, the Portimao circuit in Portugal, and that is where the globetrotting really begins, to a brand new street circuit in Durban, South Africa. From there we cross across the Atlantic Ocean to Sao Paulo, Brazil, and the famed Interlagos circuit, home of many Formula One races in the past. And the 10-round FIA GT1 World Championship will conclude on the slopes of a volcano in San Luis, Argentina. The battle will be commencing right now for round 2. The 3 phases of qualifying saw a thrilling battle for pole position, with local teams and drivers playing a prominent role. The brand new Nissan GTR of British team Sumo Power GT claimed third on the grid with Michael Kroom and Scotsman Peter Dumbreck. Aston Martin's locked out the front row, with Frenchman Fred Makowiecki and Thomas Ackery qualifying second for the Hexis AMR team.
My objective for this first race on first qualifying section was to put the car on Q3. So I'm really happy to share the car with Frédéric Makowiecki on its great qualifying section. We will see the race this afternoon.
The other Aston Martin team, young driver AMR, completed the sweep, with Britain Darren Turner and Czech Republic's Thomas Enger posting the fastest time.
We know this track, this weather suits our cars a lot, so Darren, I was just a passenger, put the car from Q2 to Q3, and Darren just did superb job and put it on pole, so we're looking forward to the rest of the weekend.
Very happy. It's obviously pole's one thing and the race is another thing, but it's nice to see that we've got a bit of pace in the car, and hopefully we can turn that into a good result tomorrow, or later today and for tomorrow.
Welcome to Silverstone and the home of the British Grand Prix, the brand new arena circuit. And here we are for round 2 of the FIA GT World Championship. My name is Jeremy Shaw. Alongside me, a former 3-time Grand Prix winner and also a winner of the 24 Hours of Le Mans, Johnny Herbert.
How you doing?
Super to be here, Johnny. We've got a good crowd on hand. We thought we were going to have weather problems this afternoon. It's been a bit iffy for the last couple of days, but it's looking great right now. And here is a look at the new arena circuit here at Silverstone. A lot of changes.
Yeah, a lot of changes. Obviously, the club corner is changed a little bit, which is the bottom right. That's a little bit longer than it used to be. Then you've got the little straight where the new pit complex will be. Then we've got that right-hander where the circuit used to go left. Now it goes right. Then we come into the new arena through that little curve in, I think it's Island Curve, and then into the arena itself. A tight right-hander, then a left-hander, and onto a long straight, Wellington straight, and then the intermediate 2 as you see on the screen, and then joining Brooklands, and then Luffield, and then past the start-finishing line. Yeah, that is a lap of the new revised circuit here at Silverstone. We've been racing here since the 1940s. It used to be a bomber aerodrome during World War II. A lot of changes. Here's a look looking from Club Corner. On the right-hand side is the new pit complex that will be built for next year's Grand Prix. Let's go down to the pit lane with Oliver Gavin.
Ollie, you've had engine difficulties this weekend, and sadly you are starting at 16th on the grid today.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a challenge for us. I mean, we're still working away with the setup on the car, and this engine configuration with Magneti Marelli is proving to be challenging. But you know, purchasing the car to start, and a very clear strategy for us today. Come in after 25 minutes, and I'll then get in the car and see what we can get. But this is the qualifying race, so we've got the big race tomorrow, and we'll see where we start for that. But great to be back here at Silverstone racing.
Great, thank you, Ollie.
Thank you, Hayley. And we've heard several cars of having electrical problems during the weekend. Another one also had some other glitch as well in qualifying. That was one of the Lamborghinis with Nicky Pastorelli and Dominic Schwager at the wheel. They also had a problem during qualifying this morning. They believe that has been sorted. Here, though, is a look at the number 7 Aston Martin, the young driver AMR team with Thomas Enger and Darren Turner, who did just a stunning job in qualifying to get that car on the pole here in what is pretty much the home turf for Aston Martin.
Definitely so, and he definitely lost a few years to be a young driver, but at the end of the day, he stuck it there. Very experienced is Darren, many times with GT1 in Le Mans, so good experience.
Another Aston Martin on the front row. On row 2 of the grid, Michael Krum and Peter Dunbrack for Nissan, and then in row 3 it's Pierre Hirschi, Jonathan Hirschi in the Aston Martin, and alongside him is the second of the Maseratis. We're on row 5, Michael Hazelman's for Corvette, Stefan Mucke in Aston Martin. Matteo Bobbi will start from the 12th grid position alongside Peter Cox in the Lamborghini. Enrique Benaldi from Brazil in the second of the Maseratis, and Alex Margaritis for the Vitofone team. Romain Grosjean, he won last week, 2 weeks ago in Abu Dhabi, will start on row 8 of the grid. Row 9, Christophe Beauchou and Baz Lenders. Row 10 of the grid, Seiji Ara in another of the Nissans, and Xavier Masson, who had problems in the Corvette. Carl Wendling, he's won this race for the last 2 years. Marcus Paltala alongside, and alone at the back, Dominic Schwager in the second of the Reiter Engineering Lamborghinis. The 24th car should have been on the grid. That was the second of the Maytech competition for GTs. Natasha Gashnang had a horrible crash a couple of weeks ago. That car not repaired for this weekend. The cars are away on their warm-up lap, Johnny Herbert, and now they have to build some heat into the tyres and get ready for this all-important start and first lap.
Yeah, well, this is much more important than the GT3s that we saw a bit earlier. These cars obviously more power. These drivers are going to be really working hard to weave the car to get that warmth into the tyres. There you go, a little bit sort of left and right, and they're always going to work hard to get that temperature in. It's very important to get the tyre temperature up as close as they can to the optimum for that start.
Yeah, on board here, the 23 Nissan. That is one of the brand new team that started off this season. I mean, before Christmas, there was no Sumo Power GT team. After Christmas, it became a reality. At the Autosport show in January was when they began to put it all together. And here they are on just the second round for that team. And one of those cars is on the second row of the grid. That is a quite remarkable effort.
It certainly has. I think it surprised a lot of people because they weren't very competitive in Abu Dhabi, but they've got two cars in the top 3 rows, and I think they're looking very, very strong. We have to see how they work with the tyres during the race.
On board, that was with the Maytech Competition 4 GT. Romain Grosjean, a star in the open wheel ranks, a star also on his GT1 debut 2 weeks ago in the Middle East in Abu Dhabi, came through to win that race and leads the championship coming in here to round 2 at Silverstone. So we're going to have some great onboard footage for you this afternoon. Here is the number 9 Hexis Aston Martin, and that is going to bring some great footage as well. They're going to start a little bit farther back down the order than, well, they're going to start on the second row of the grid is what they're going to do, and it's Fred Macavecchi and Thomas Ackery, 2 French drivers who are both relatively unheralded but really making their name in the GT ranks, and I know that they are looking to get the jump if they can on the other Aston Martin that will start on the front row of the grid.
I think we've got a real exciting race ahead here. I think with the Aston Martins, again, a little bit of a surprise. Same with the Nissan. I think the Maseratis, to be honest, were probably the favourites this weekend. And I think it's going to be interesting to see how the number 1 does in its 4th position. But then a little bit further down, well, a long way further down, 12th and 13th. I would expect those to come through the grid.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of action here. There's a lot of cars that we thought are going to be fast, starting well towards the back of the field. On board here with one of the Vitaphone Maseratis, and Andrea Bertolini and Michael Bartels. They've been a huge force to be reckoned with in GT1 racing for the last half a dozen years. The team has won the team's championship 5 years in a row, and Michael Bartels certainly did not expect to be, I think, a complete contender this weekend. They struggled a little bit 2 weeks ago in Abu Dhabi, but still came away with a top 5 finish.
Yeah, and he's got a vast amount of experience as that team, and it's something that now they can sort of hopefully put it all together for this race, because I think this is going to be a very difficult one. It's 1 hour, but I think it's going to be a difficult one to basically look after the tyres. The tyres are going to be a very important factor.
Yeah, each of the teams has only 4 sets of tyres for each car to last them through the weekend. Michelin certainly builds a very durable tyre that lasts fairly well, but these cars have a lot of horsepower, certainly well over 500 horsepower, and they certainly, if the drivers don't look after them, they can chew up those tyres. So tyre management certainly is going to be an issue. So
here we go, the pace car has pulled off. So we'll be coming up to the start now. We're on a nice little sort of formation as we come up to the line.
Thomas Enger on the pole. Alongside him on the outside is Thomas Ackery, and a lot of big experience gap between those 2 drivers, but they're both in identical Aston Martin DBR9s, and it's going to be a very slow pace start. There is the green, away they go, and look at Michael Bartels, look to the outside. The second of the Aston Martins gets tucked out. It was Clivio Piccioni who made a great start down the middle, forced the back out of it, and I think the male may be cleaving through Top's corner.
Yeah, it looks like it. Yeah, there was a little bit. Bartels got on the dirt at the start, but he actually got away with it. The Nissan was down the inside, but he got round the outside. Now he's stuck behind the Aston Martin, now with a good chance of towing up behind him as they go down Hanger Straight, as they just go onto it now.
A great start by Thomas Enger from the pole position. He leads the field through, that gives them onto the Hanger Straight, and look at that run he got onto the straight. And Michael Bartels in 3rd place. He was complaining a couple of weeks ago that Maserati was not as quick on the straight line as some cars, and around the outside goes Peter Dumbreck. He lives only a few miles away here from Silverstone, and he's so much looking forward to leading on this. We're on board with that Sumo Power GT car going into Club Corner.
I think Bartels must have made a mistake coming out of the Beckett's, because he was behind the Aston, and then when he came out he wasn't, but the Nissan gave him a hell of a lot of pressure there. So Now he's under pressure, and now he's got to try and sit down Bartels and get back into the groove to catch up on the Astons that are pulling a gap a little bit.
Yeah, a good bit of late braking down there to hold that position at the end of the hangar straight. And here we are on board again with Peter Dumbrek as he puts the pressure on Michael Bartels into this new section of track.
Yeah, this right-hander, probably about second gear. You've got to sweep across. There we are in car. The left-hander very tight. Now, this is very important, getting the power on up to probably fourth, into probably fifth gear, through that little kink, little bit of a fight at the wheel, now down the straight. It's a very important one to get this right, because you can sort of gain and either lose a lot as well. So he's going to try, but he's not really close enough on this particular lap.
There's a mistake there by the second of the young driver, Aston Martin's car number 8. It was started by Christopher Nygaard from Denmark.
Got a puncture at the rear. Yeah. So maybe that was through a little bit of contact. I don't know. We'll see the repeat of that.
It was awfully close, wasn't it, all the way around that first lap, but a great first lap for Thomas Enger, a pretty handy margin over the other Aston Martin. Thomas Ackery also done a nice job there, the young Frenchman in second place, Michael Bartels in third, Peter Dumbrek fourth for Nissan, right on in his wheel tracks, the team car with Jamie Campbell-Walter, so 2 Brits there in the top 5 positions.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be interesting now. Now you're basically, the drivers are going to try and settle themselves down into a rhythm. Thomas, massive amount of experience driving these GT1 cars, and he shows typically that he pushes and he's on the ball straight away, and he's got a very nice gap. Just got to keep that rhythm going now.
Also come through well behind the rest of the pack is Bert Longin in the second of the Triple H Team Hedgersport cars, car number 34, one of the Maseratis. He must have had a spin on that first lap as well, whether there was contact with the other Aston Martin.
Yeah, it looks like probably that way.
That car is coming into the pits now. Back to the action out on the track. Here's the battle with third and fourth Michael Bartels, a multiple champion in GT1. Look at this big stream of cars. Aston Martin, Maserati, Nissan, another Aston Martin behind them. Out in front, Thomas Enger. He's kept his nose clean at the start. That was a great first lap by the Czech Republic driver. He pulled out over a second and a half as the second of his teammate there is in the pits, Christopher Nygaard.
Yeah, we can see the tyre's completely destroyed itself, but it's just a quick change, back on track, and away he goes.
Certainly cost him a lot of time.
Yes. Oh, there we go. Oh no, it looks like maybe at the punch really soon.
Yeah.
Anyway,
you can see that left rear tyre there is well, it actually Tart's company. Not good when you pass by your own tyre, is it? Never a good sign. But as you can see there, the second of the Triple H cars, the Maserati, also was well adrift of the field at that stage. So if they had a coming together, clearly it was some way before that. Here they're back to the battle for second place as Thomas Enger makes hay at the front of the field, extends his advantage on lap 2. It's now over 3 seconds to Thomas Ackery in second place. Michael Bartels hot on his heels in third, then Peter Dumbrek, Jamie Campbell-Walter, Clivio Piccioni, another former Open Wheel star, in 6th, and then Frank Ketchley in car number 25, the Lamborghini. Magnificent start for him. He was 7th on the grid, he's made up 1 position, and he's charging hard. Then the first of the Corvettes, Mark Henrici, in 8th place.
Yeah, it's an interesting. We've got the shot of Michael Bartels. You know, he's going to try and push himself to get in front of that Aston Martin in front, because he's under a lot of pressure from the 2 Nissan. The Nissans are surprisingly, you see in that picture, the Maserati looks so small compared to that Nissan that is so huge. And I think it's important now for Michael to settle down to get in front of that Aston Martin if he can.
And the different sounds of these engines, it's quite thrilling. We've got V8 engines, we've got V12s, and engines at different ends of the cars. The Corvettes, of course, the front engine car, and the Ford GT behind it, a mid-engine car. So lots of configurations to it. The cars weigh around about the same sort of weight, around about 1,200 kilos, but it's certainly an exciting race. And there is Stefan Rattel, who is the boss of the series, looking on and thoroughly enjoying the first few laps of the race. That was Enrique Benoldi, and there's Darren Turner, the pole sitter, watching on from the young driver AMR Garage.
Yeah, Darren did a stunning job in qualifying, and Thomas is utilising what he was given, and it's not a surprise. Very strong driver package, those young guns.
Yeah, young guns. Not exactly young guns perhaps, but they are enormously talented and finally getting a great opportunity to show really what they can do. Thomas Enger, he's 33 years of age from the Czech Republic, but he's just doing two fabulous opening laps, and he's pulled out over 3 seconds over Thomas Zachary. His fastest lap already in the race, by far the quickest lap of the race, 2 minutes 0.7, and there was a 2 minutes 0.8, so just 1/10 of a second slower on lap 3. Let's have a look at the replay of the start.
Yeah, I don't know what car we're in here. Oh, car 5, right. You can see it gets a little bit there. There was a spin. We missed that one there. So that was where it looks like the Maserati spun.
And there's the other young driver car in front as well. I think
so that was the contact.
So
that was wherever the puncher came from. Oh yeah, there was a lot of a lot of squeeze. There was 2 Maserati and Lamborghini as well, and the Aston Martin. So bit of damage there, bits bobbling around. So there was a little bit of there, but that's something that these guys have got to keep out of trouble. You can't get into trouble like that.
That's right, and some pretty phenomenal avoidances there at the back of the field, weren't there?
As well as, yes, exactly. And they sort of use their brains to get out of the way. It's just so silly to have a race and you get into contact in the first corner. You know, you're losing everything.
Yeah, you can't win the race on the first corner, can you? You certainly can lose it, goes the old adage, and it's certainly true, I think, for each of those 3 cars. There's a battle a little farther down towards the end of the top 10. It's Christopher Haas in 9th place there, car number 24, the Lamborghini, hot on his tails. Anthony Kumpran in one of the Phoenix Racing Car Sport Corvettes. That is the Hedgersfort car is into the pits after that opening lap contact. And there doesn't seem to be a lot of urgency there, Johnny.
No, it definitely doesn't. Yeah, I can see he's in neutral with the N inside the car, but it doesn't look like there's any damage. No.
There's another bit of contact there. It's Anthony Cooper trying to force his way through the battle for 9th and 10th places as just past us in the commentary box came Christopher Nygaard in the second of the young driver Aston Martin. So he has made it back out into the race, and he is not a lap down. So he's got an awful lot of ground to make up, but he is at least on the same lap as the leading cars.
Yeah, lots, but again, they're losing that much time. You know, there's 51 minutes still to go. Thomas is probably only 8-10 seconds behind him. So his race is over, but the battle behind Thomas is getting quite intense. I think the pressure's going to build. The guys are sort of going to try and look after these tyres, because of course they've still got to do that pit stop to driver change, which is nice. And there we are in one of the Corvettes, and I think, you know, the Corvette's been very good here and very strong, so at the end of the day I think they've got a good chance.
On board with Anthony Cooper there, Johnny, and coming on to through the Beckett series of corners here. Talk us around the lap.
Yeah, well, the Beckett's there, the right-hander. Now we're coming onto the straights, a flat-out left-hander. They're on the hanger straight, and this is where there's sort of one of the fastest speeds. These cars probably get up to a good 170, 180 miles an hour. Braking very hard now into Stowe Corner. Right-hander, probably in 3rd or 4th gear. Very difficult to keep the car close to that curb. You see the Lamborghini has that little bit extra when it comes out of the corner. Braking now down into valve to the left-hander. Runs a little bit wide, the Lamborghini. Now down the inside. There's a big little sprint as we get out of this, going up towards the new pit complex as he passes the Lamborghini, which is great. So now we come up to the new Abbey, a right-hander, very fast, little drop down of 1 gear. Some of the cars a little bit bumpy in the middle. We come through, and we've actually got the left-hander now. Island curve, and now the Lamborghini is under a lot of pressure from behind as well. So it's going to be to in and throw in, and you've just got to be so neat with these cars, not make mistakes. And there you go, the Ford is through as well, so he's lost 2 places in 1 lap.
Yeah, that's Maxime Martin there in car number 40, the Belgian driver in the Mark V, the S Racing Team Ford, and he's making up ground from a lowly grid position. Here, though, is the battle, and the Lamborghini looks back to the inside going into Brooklands, not close enough.
No, I don't think he's got the pace to lose those 2 places. I think that's showing that the pace is definitely not there with that particular Lamborghini. But the whole thing about this type of racing is that rhythm. I keep mentioning rhythm, but it's so important now to really look after the tyres, because obviously when they do that pit stop, they change drivers, and that driver then has got to carry on with those tyres, and it's very easy to abuse them and then make it more difficult for the second driver when he gets in. So it's just that rhythm that is very much needed now.
There is Michael Barker is coming through one more time. And it's Thomas Enger now with 5 laps in the books. Another sub 2 minute 1 second lap there, 2 minutes 0.996 seconds. And again, he's still the only guy to be lapping beneath 2 minutes 01. He's consistently quicker than everybody else. That lap only 0.4 of a second quicker than Thomas Zachary in second place, but still extending that margin and really looking strong. Here's another battle back down the field. One of the all-inkle Lamborghinis there under intense pressure. That is really close with Thomas Much hot on his heels and looking for the way past here on the inside.
This is good racing. Again, they're just trying to put the pressure on the driver in front. And the GT40, as we can see, is right on his bumper. And there's a good chance now, if he doesn't do it into Abbey, that it will be close enough. He's going to try, but this is a fast corner, a very difficult one to do. But I think if he gets close, keeps close, he'll be able to do it in the right-hander as they go into the arena part of the track. So now he's going to be close on that island curve. So, and he's down the outside. That's a brave move.
He's trying to force Mark Basseng into a mistake, isn't he? There, trying to dive down the inside here. No, Mark Basseng keeps all the angles closed there. No way through for Thomas Much. And Thomas had made a good start. We saw that on the onboard. But he was kind of held up in that first corner scrimmage and lost several positions from an already bad grid position to start with. So the race certainly has not gone his way in the early stages. And again, there's the Lamborghini with good straight line speed and Mark Basseng driving very defensively.
Yeah, very defensively, and he's not making too many mistakes. So at the present time, he's been able to just drive his race, keep in front, do his pace, look after the tyres, and I think that's something that's really good. So now we go through, this is the start-finish straight. That's the start line just there now. And then we got Copse Corner, very, very fast right-hander, using that curb, and then you let the car go out very close to the curb on the left-hand side, coming into a wonderful section here, and it's something that is very quick. There's one gear change down, getting onto those curbs on the inside. The left-hander, Beckett's, keeping tight, very easy to lose the car and wash out. Now it's very important to keep that car on the right to exit, because now you've got a long straight, and that straight is important, because if you make a mistake in the middle, the car is going to utilise that slipstream and probably pass you.
We're watching this battle here for 12th and 13th place there, with Mark Basseng struggling to hold off Thomas Much, but right behind them also are Nicky Pastorelli in the second of the all-inkle Lamborghinis, and also right behind Pastorelli is Nicola Armindo in one of the Mad Croc Corvettes, running in 15th place. So those 4 cars pretty much nose to tail. 5 cars also with the Portuguese driver Miguel Ramos there in the second of the Vitaphone Maseratis also.
Yeah, and I think the Vitaphone Maserati should be further up the grid, so I think he's now trying to put all the pressure on the cars in front to get himself up there, because he needs to do that. He needs to get himself in a good mental position for tomorrow's race as well. So it's an important part for them race to get a good result.
Now, how frustrating is this for Thomas Much? He's pretty sure he's got a much faster car than the Lamborghini, but he can't find a way through.
No, he can't. Now, frustration is one thing, but frustration and then driving into the other car is something that you don't want to do. You just want to keep on doing what you're doing, pressurise, 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 and eventually probably something will come your way.
And there's a powerful positioner. That is Nicolas Armindo making the move there to the inside. Armindo, he's been a long-time Porsche Super Cup driver from France, now based in Germany, and that was a great move down to the inside of Nicky Pastorelli. So one of the Corvettes makes the move on the Lamborghini. It's an early pit stop.
Yeah, very early pit stop. Now,
Pastorelli in the second of the all-inkle Lamborghinis, and
he's been struggling for the last couple of laps. So
yeah, and they had a problem in the qualifying session this morning, which restricted them quite severely, unable to get that car up to speed at all. It was a sensor problem. They thought they got it sorted out, and they thought they had a fast car for the race. The car was handling very, very well indeed, but this is certainly an unscheduled stop for car number 38.
No, for sure. Now, I'm guessing they've probably got a similar, oh no, maybe it's a steering issue by the look of it in some way. So obviously some handling issue that they've got.
Indeed, and that's certainly... Let's go down to the pit lane, and Haley is with Alex Margaritis.
Alexander, unfortunately you have to put the car in the garage. Can you explain what's the problem?
Yes, at the moment we are not quite sure what the problem is, but he talked to us over the radio. We have some engine problems, so we have no performance on that side. Changed the ECU, but it was not the problem. So we're trying to find another problem.
Thank you, Alex.
Next, Alex Marguerite is his teammate, of course, with Alfred Hager, also the team owner, one of the team owners of Triple H Team Hager Sports. And Alfred Hager making a comeback to racing this year, a former factory driver for BMW 20 years or so ago, did a lot of Porsche Super Cup racing after that, and coming back this year after a 10-year absence, and it'll be a great disappointment to him to be out so early in this race. Back here to the battle at the bottom end of the top 10 are the two Phoenix Racing Car Sport Corvettes, and hot on their heels is that great battle developing, and that is the car number 40 behind them, one of the Mark VDS racing cars, and Maxime Martin took the opening stint in car number 40, and he's got that car up into 10th place, having started way back in 18.
Absolutely, and they seem to have, it's really come through really well, and at the moment there's obviously going to be a lot of pressure from that 14 on the Corvette in front, and it's something that you've just got to do, and you've just got to be so patient with this type of thing. You make a mistake of trying to pass the car in front, the guy behind is then going to slip through and you're going to lose out. So you've just got to be so patient and put as much pressure on as you can in front, and the guy behind, well, it's up to him to do his job.
Both of these yellow Corvettes there, they had a great weekend in Abu Dhabi a couple of weeks ago, and because of that, there's a system of success ballast in the FIA GT World Championship, and for cars that do particularly well one weekend, they handicap them a little bit with a little bit of extra weight, and both of these Corvettes carrying a little bit more weight than they were last week. 20 kilograms and 30 kilograms respectively on these two cars, and that's certainly going to have an effect on how the balance of these cars is develops during the racetrack.
Yeah, I think the main thing with weight, it's sitting on about just how the car handles and how it sort of the tyres react, but it's something that these guys deal with quite a lot. You know, there's a lot of experienced guys out there, but these two Corvettes are having a good battle. He's diving. Very optimistic. Oh, right, there you go. Well, very optimistic, but...
Yeah, with Anthony Kumpman there making the pass on Mark Tenerisi there, and smart moving probably by Tenerisi there. He realised the other car was alongside him, make sure he doesn't turn in and take them both out and give up that, so he gave up that one position, and he lives to fight another day.
But it will be interesting to see if the GT40 can capitalise on that, because obviously he's been able to close out. Doesn't mean he might? No, he's not going to try there. But that was a very close one, because although he looked as if he let his teammate through, he nearly actually lost out behind with the GT40.
There is that battle though for 8th, 9th and 10th positions. Thomas Enger had just come past to complete lap 9 with 18 and a half minutes in the books on this 60-minute race. Again, the Ford looks to the inside going into Copse Corner. Again, not quite close enough to make the pass. You've got to be tucked right up under the gearbox, or rear wing in this case of the car if you're going to make a pass, and not quite close enough going into Copse.
No, the interesting thing with cars is that they're not all the same all around the track. They're probably the Corvette is quick in one part of the circuit, and the GT40 is quicker in another. But here at Silverstone, you want to be quick down the straight. Makes your job a lot easier.
Yeah, that is the big key, isn't it? And there's a big spin for that is Thomas Butch, I believe. Yes, in car number 5. I think we're going to find the car that was running in 13th place and battling to get up inside the top 10. It is Thomas Much, and he's buried that car in the gravel. Wow.
We didn't quite see the beginning of that one. Looked as if there was a little bit of contact, I think, before they went in. Didn't quite see it, but it looked like it.
That's with Nicolas Armindo, with whom he had been battling the Mad Croc Corvette. They were battling for 13th and 14th places. Much had the advantage when they came past here on a previous lap, but nothing to choose between them. It looks there as if the Ford came off second best and buried in the gravel at Maggots. So that's not a good place to spin off. It's a very fast section of track there.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's a very odd place to spin off, to be honest. So I think that was a definite contact that was there. So obviously one out of the race, and if there was contact, probably the other one got a little bit of damage as well, I would presume.
Yeah, that was certainly very bad news indeed for the team, the Maytech competition team. Just one car coming into this weekend with the second Ford GT of Natasha Gashnang rendered hors de combat in that incident a couple of weeks ago. Here again, it's just the tail end of the spin. And he exited stage right when he should have been turning left.
Yes, exactly. So I'm not quite sure. It's a very difficult one to see.
Butch had been leading the way, unless he'd made a mistake at Cops Corner method in conjecturing there, but certainly apparently some contact between those two. And here's another battle going on as well between one of the Sumo power forwards, and right on its heels, the fastest so far of the Lamborghinis. So that's Jamie Campbell-Walter there in 6th place, coming under intense pressure from Frank Ketchley in that number 25 Reiter Engineering Lamborghini.
Yeah, and we're down into one of the fastest part of the track now. Yes, there you go. He's going to tick out left. Jamie's going to try and defend, but I don't think he's really going to get through there. No, he's not. And it's something, just this pressure again, the Lamborghini looks very good. It looks very good on its tyres at the moment. It seems to be utilising them very, very well. It seems to be very, very comfortable. And at the end of the day, I think he's probably going to slip by very, very shortly.
Have a look at the standings there. It's Thomas Enger who leads from Thomas Ackery and Michael Bartels. Peter Dumbrek in 4th place. Clive Piccioni in 5th place in another Aston Martin, and then Jamie Campbell-Walter in the 2nd Nissan. Frank Ketchley for Lamborghini in 7th, and Anthony Kumpen and Mark Henrici in Corvettes. Maxime Martin in 10th place for Ford, 11th and 12th in the Corvettes. They're farther down the order than they would like. Car number 12 is Pertti Kuzmainen in the 2nd of the Mad Prop Corvettes, currently running in 16th place, doing a respectable job, and he will hand over, of course, to Oliver Gavin. And I know Oliver Gavin can't wait to get behind the wheel of that car, but he's going to have an awful lot of ground to make up.
An awful lot of ground. I think it's a very long day for Oliver.
Indeed it is. On board here again, though, with Frank Ketchley, and he's a late addition to this team. And boy, he's done a nice job. He's only 23 years of age, but he's been racing mainly in former Renault. He won the NEC Championship in 07, and this is his first season in GT1 cars. And boy, he was a revelation in the 2nd qualifying period this morning. He was 2nd quick for quite a while, and very much up amongst the front runners and doing a sterling job in the opening stint of this race.
Yeah, and it's interesting looking at the times at the moment. Thomas has obviously been leading for a long time now, but it seems as if the gap is coming down. It seems as if almost, and I know we spoke to Thomas the other day, and he was saying in the race they have tyre issues. Maybe this is the start of one of those issues that they've been having problems with in Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, that's a good point. Did he push too hard too soon? Look at the inside here, comes down car number 25. The Lamborghini is trying to make a move, but once again, Jamie Campbell-Walter holds that inside line jealously going into Stoke Corner, and there's no way around the outside.
No, he's trying, he's not quite got the speed in the right places, and I think we see here, the Nissan seems to be very good out of club, this right-hander now, and he seems to normally pull away from the Lamborghini. We'll have to see if it actually works out this time, but yes, there we are. I think he starts to accelerate away again, so he's not quite close enough in the right parts of the circuit to be able to get past, because he needs to stay close here into Abbey to go through Island Curve to get a chance of overtaking him on the right hand going into the arena.
Yeah, Jamie Campbell-Walter, he started off in 5th place in the early stages. He did lose a position to Clivio Piccioni in the Aston Martin Hexis AMR racing car, but he's fallen back now from Piccioni and now struggling to hold off Frank Ketchley there, but he's still got about a 5-second margin over Anthony Kumpen now in the best place of the Corvettes in 8th place. Here's the Maytech car back into the fray, but a long way down, car number 5. Look here for the battle for 3rd and 4th. There is Michael Bartels with Peter Dumbrek hot on his heels there. Maserati versus Nissan. And here is the 2nd place car. The gap between 1st and 2nd has come down quite dramatically over the last few laps. Thomas Enger was as much as almost, well, about 5 seconds ahead of Thomas Ackery in 2nd place. That gap has come down by half. It's now only 2.4 seconds. And the last 2 laps around, Thomas Enger has been 2-minute 03 laps, so a good bit slower than he was going before. But on board here with Peter Dumbrek, he's trying to put the pressure on Michael Bartels.
Yeah, and he hasn't been quite close enough to be able to put enough pressure on Michael. And Michael seems to be sort of holding that gap, but also he's just edging towards the Aston Martin in front of him, and again the Aston Martin is closing on Thomas as well. So if you play a smart game, I think Michael has got a good chance of getting in a good position for when they come into the changeover in the pit stops.
Indeed, and I think the pit stops are going to be starting very soon indeed. We've got less than 45 minutes remaining in this race, so the pit stop window is open. And judging by the pace of the leading Aston Martin, yeah, there is the first guy to pit. That's Pertti Kuzmainen, the 60-plus-year-old Finn, gets out of the car number 12 Corvette, the Mad Crop Racing Corvette. Oliver Gavin climbs behind the wheel. There's a change of tyres also, and then Oliver Gavin will rejoin the fray. This looks like a fairly standard pit stop. Only they have to change Michelin tyres on the car. They reset the ignition on that car, and away will go Oliver Gavin. Not the fastest of stops, it would appear.
Now we're back in with the Nissan and Peter Dumbreck. I think the main thing now is these guys have just got to sort of really try and get as close as they possibly can, because when these pit stops come around, there is a good chance that they're going to be able to overtake. A little bit of I don't know if this is traffic. It's very possibly traffic there. I'm not sure. Yes, there's a bit of traffic. Oh, that was a bit close. That was a bit close. But I think, yes, this is where everything is going to change a little bit, because this traffic can come into play. We've got Michael seems to have lost out now, and Peter's right on his backside now. So now he's in the right position, because if he can keep close through going through Beckett's and onto the Hangar Straight, he could be in a good position to pass.
Yeah, the second place Aston Martin of Thomas Zachary did come onto pit lane, and he elevates this battle we're watching right now. We're on board with Peter Dumbreck, now running third in that Sumo Power GT Nissan, and here is that pit stop for the Hexis AMR team. Out comes Thomas Zachary, in gets Frederick Makovicky. You'll see here there's only two crew members are allowed to work on the car during each of the pit stops. They have to change all 4 Michelin tyres on this Aston Martin, so it's a good workout for these guys during the pit stops. The driver change is already completed. They're now going to change finally the left front tyre. Down comes the car off the jacks, and away goes Frederick Makovicky. That looked like a pretty good pit stop, I thought, by that Hexis team.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think there goes the Sumo Nissan.
Yeah, that's Jamie Campbell-Walter handing over to Warren Hughes. They were running in 7th place prior to that pit stop, 6th place prior to that pit stop. They gave up 1 position to Frank Ketchley in the Lamborghini when Jamie Campbell-Walter ducked onto pit lane.
And at the front, I can see Thomas has just thrown in a slightly quicker lap, so his pace is sort of there or thereabouts, but obviously he has lost the advantage he had.
He has lost a lot of that advantage, but he was also helped on that lap by the 2nd and 3rd place cars, held up coming round Luffield when the 2nd place car came into the pit lane, and Thomas Mooch was going pretty slowly in the Ford GT as well.
Yeah, exactly, and I think he has actually stretched that gap just slightly by, I think, about half a second or so. So yes, he has got that advantage, but they do seem to be struggling towards the end of the, let's say, the 30-minute stints that they do.
It's a good lap from Clivio Piccioni, the 5th place Corvette number 10, as Thomas Enger, is he onto pit lane, or is he? Yes, he is onto pit lane, I believe, Thomas Enger, the race leader. Coming past, there's a high wall in front of us, we can barely see him, but he is coming into pit lane, and Michael Bartels now takes over the lead, followed the onboard here with Michael Bartels, as there in the pit box is Thomas Enger. He gets out of the car, and Darren Turner will clamber aboard.
And these are probably one of the slickest crews, I think, in the pit lane. The drivers are always very slick in their changes. They're always well prepared, well before they're actually allowed to release the car. And as I think I've said before, that in the GT3s, that these guys sometimes work so hard on this. And you see he's just so ready and so early, and that was a great pit stop, very quick.
Yeah, it did look. It's a new team formed this year. It's owned by Erhard Fischer. Team manager is Jan Struve. They put together a good organisation there, but with a lot of help certainly from the factory Aston Martin, which of course is based only a few miles away in Banbury. The cars are built at Pro Drive in Banbury, and the cars are very much on home ground here, and so is Darren Turner, and he was so looking forward to getting behind the wheel of this car. But whether or not Thomas Enger was struggling towards the end of that first stint with his tyres, we will perhaps find out. And if that was the case, can Darren Turner manage those tyres a little more effectively? Yeah,
no, definitely so. I think that's going to be key to this. But it's good to see that Peter's still trying to put the pressure on Michael to be able to get past. Doesn't seem to be succeeding, and I think it's going to be a long race and a hard race, and all he can do is just keep on that consistency and put that pressure on. Lovely little bit of sing going on here.
It's great, isn't it? There it's Bert Longin in the car number 34, the second of the Triple H Maseratis. and off over his tail the Corvette of Xavier Masson. So some great battles all the way through the field, as we've seen throughout the race so far. It's been at the Aston Martins at the front, but farther back it's every man for himself.
It is, and it's great to see, you know, we've got 3 different manufacturers battling it out on track, and it's great because this GT1 World Championship, I think the principle of the way that the rules are being constructed for these guys is making the racing great and making it very, very tight as well. Yes, some people will get an advantage, but at the end of the day, that would swing and change as they go to different racetracks.
Indeed, so there's a quick glimpse there of Peter Dunbreck. It was pulling on to pit lane in the Sumo Power GT car. Here is that pit stop being made. Peter Dunbreck clambering out. Michael Krum, the German driver, been based in Japan for many, many years as a factory Nissan driver. He climbs aboard. Looks like they're going to complete that stop, and they're waiting for the car to fire off. Away goes Michael Krum. Already, however, Darren Turner is through Copse Corner and away, so still Darren Turner has a very handy lead.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the 2 front runners and how their speed will be, because I think that will be quite key to who sort of gets that first mental advantage.
I think that was a fantastic stop by car number 7 there, and the young driver AMR team, because Darren Turner has come out with a vastly increased advantage over Frederick Makovecki in the Hexis Racing Aston Martin. There were about a couple of seconds between them coming into the pits as they came across the line that time, still in 7th and 8th places as the pit stop sequence unfolds. There was a 10-second margin between those 2 cars.
Yeah, and this is where it's very important, this type of racing, I mean, any form of racing to be honest, the in-lap and the out-lap is very, very important. You cannot lose any time through that.
There's a couple of penalties coming up here. Car number 34, that's Bert Longin, and number 7, Darren Turner, for cutting the pit lane entry line. So that was actually Thomas Enger. He's been called for a penalty for cutting the pit lane entry line. So that is a massive infraction by Thomas Enger, and that wonderful pit stop and that great opening stint looks to be undone if they have to serve, as it would appear, their drive-through penalty.
Absolutely, and we've also got the 23 car as well.
Same problem.
Yeah, so obviously it's going to be a big swap. The Aston Martin is going to get the advantage and get into the lead, but it's going to drop down. Very shame for Darren. It's going to drop him down a long way. If it was him or it was Thomas, I'm not really sure, but I guess it definitely was Thomas.
All of the cars have to make their mandatory pit stop between 25 minutes into the race and 25 minutes to go in the race. There's a 10-minute window there, and the last of the cars on pit lane now. Michael Bartels about to hand over to, here he has handed over now to Andrea Bertolini, but he stalled the engine.
I doubt it. Not with. I think he's not going to get. He's not going to get in front of the Nissan because obviously he's stalling it. Although there you go, there's one Nissan going into the pits.
That's going to be the erstwhile 4th place car of Peter Dunbreck, now driven by Michael Krum, who will have to serve the penalty. It's a drive-through penalty. He would have to maintain that 60-kilometre speed limit all the way down pit lane, and that is absolutely disastrous.
No, it is, because I think, you know, these drive-throughs are just there for the whole straight, not really going anywhere, and everybody's just speeding past you. You lose probably a good 10 or so seconds here.
Oh, a good bit more than that. Would you probably be near 20, I would imagine, to make a drive-through penalty here. At that speed all the way down that long pit lane. Let's have a look at the onboard here. This is on, yeah, you can see you just left that turn in too late. You've got to be inside that white line that demarcates between the grass, or before the grass starts, I should say, on the inside of the racetrack coming onto pit lane. Peter Dunbreck clearly did not do so. It's a major disaster for that Sumo Power team. That's exactly what they didn't want. He'd done a fabulous job through the opening stint, but now I don't think there's any way to come back from that drive-through penalty. You can still, however, salvage a good result. This, of course, is just the qualifying race for the weekend. I say just the qualifying race. The championship round takes place tomorrow afternoon. and this race will set the grid positions for tomorrow's championship race. However, there are also championship points for grabs this afternoon as well. 8 championship points will go to the team that wins the race, 6 for second place and 4 for third. And at the end of the season, those points could be all important.
Oh, massively so. And I think it's something that these guys are out there, they're trying to win everything they possibly can. But this one is something that there's less points available, and you just need to get those points, because as you said, Jeremy, they could become very important.
So it's Andrea Bertolini who has the lead now in that number 1 Maserati. But look, not far behind him there is in second place. Well, actually, the scoring is now showing Thomas Ackery. Yeah, here is Thomas Ackery there in the Aston Martin going through the frame. He is the race leader. There in second place is Andrea Bertolini in the Maserati. So it's Aston Martin still out front in a margin of about 6.5 seconds over that Vitaphone Maserati. And in third place is the... What's the scoring? Clivio Piccioni is now shown in second place. So we've got the 2 Hexis AMR cars shown in first and second. And Piccioni, he made an early pit stop, and he is by far the quicker of the drivers in that car number 10. And Clivio Piccioni is making up a lot of ground. He's up into second place and lapping very quickly indeed.
Yeah, and I think that Maserati stalling didn't help either. He's lost a lot of time because of that. He's in there for a good 4 or 5 seconds.
That's exactly right. So he's come out in third place now. Darren Turner is still shown in fourth place. I don't think well, I'm sure he hasn't yet served his penalty. So here is on board with Frederick Makowiecki now driving the car number 9. It was started by Thomas Ackery, and he drove a beautiful opening stint in that car. He came in to the pits in second place, and I guess Darren Turner has served his drive-through penalty. That's the good news. But the bad news, I think he's been called again. Stop and go penalty for car 7 for cutting the pit entry line a second time. So both drivers have made the same mistake. That is astonishing.
Well, they obviously haven't studied it, because they've obviously cut it. Because it is when you look at it, when there was a shot earlier on, the line starts very early on the exit of La Field, and I think they're going far too quick, and then they can't get over. But you've got to slow up to go through between them.
And that's exactly, if we remember now, that's exactly what Thomas Ackery did in that Hexis Aston Martin, because he slowed right up going around that second part of Luffield, and he also backed himself up into Bertolini and the following Nissan as well, didn't he?
To get in.
The shunt, actually.
Exactly, but to get in into the pit lane entrance itself, yeah.
That's why he did it. This time it's a stop and go penalty for car number 7, so even more disastrous. Things go from bad to worse for the young driver AMR team.
From the experienced boys.
Yeah, really, from the experienced boys, isn't it? Actually, that is just a disaster for them, and there's going to be some very unhappy campers in that team. However, for Aston Martin, things looking still very good indeed. We have Aston Martins in first and second places. We've just got a new fastest lap, a personal fastest lap for Clivio Piccioni in car number 10, the second place of the Astons, now shown about 6.5 seconds behind Frederick Makowiecki in car number 9.
It's something with that pit entry issue. You know, it's something these guys should be there looking around the track to actually spot these things. You know, they have rules. The rules are there for a certain reason, and they should study that. It's ridiculous that they do that. It's there for a reason.
Yeah, and as you say, these are professional drivers and have been long-time professional drivers. You certainly would not expect that. But here's this wonderful battle going on a little bit farther down the order. It's a battle indeed for 12th place, led by Xavier Masson in the... just ahead of Xavier Masson is Marc Vasseng. That'll be Christophe Beauchou at the wheel now of car number 37, that Lamborghini. I think Marc Vasseng drove the opening stint. The timing has not switched over here. And it's Xavier Masson now hot on his heels in the number 11 Corvette. And there's Pertti Koosmainen, who has handed over the car to Oliver Gavin, and Gavin now shown in 15th place.
Yeah, and a great little race here, all packed up, so they're all trying to put pressure on each other to try and get in front of each other. But there's a lot of racing still to go. We've still got 20 minutes to go, and these guys are going to be really pushing that pressure and putting as much effort into trying to go as quick as they possibly can. So it's good. It's fascinating to see, again, for me, to see all those different manufacturers racing hard together.
There it is, Lamborghini, Corvette, Nissan, Corvette, and another Nissan making up that 5-car train.
There we go.
And look at him getting on the power. The Corvette gets on the power, coming out of that tight corner, going onto the straight here. Can he make the move?
I think he can, yes. He went very wide there, did the Lamborghini. Probably not quite close enough, but this is where all the pressure, you're going to go onto the dirt, you're going to collect this little bit of rubber, these little balls of rubber that collect on the track. They stick to the rubber, they stick to the tyre, and then it becomes very, very difficult. It takes normally about a lap or two to get it off, so it's really trying to put that pressure on, so these guys do keep making these little mistakes.
Yeah, exactly right. There's Oliver Gavin there in car number 12, beginning to put the pressure now on that number 3 Swiss racing team, Nissan GTR, with Karl Wendinger and Henry Moser driving. I think there's quite a battle going on, and the other Swiss racing team, Nissan, also right in the thick of that battle as well. So great dice going on there for 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th and 17th places.
Yeah, and I think you're going to see, with Ollie, with the experience he's got around Silverstone, especially here, I would presume he's going to really get close to that Nissan in the next couple of laps, and I think he's then going to get that real opportunity to overtake. And as I say that, the Nissan, I'm sure he's going to slip down his inside. No, he fights him off. Just.
Oliver Gavin there, really under pressure from Seiji Ara. Again, another factory driver from Nissan in Japan. A former Le Mans winner himself is Seiji Ara, so a massive amount of experience. He's been driving GT cars for a long, long time, as, of course, as Oliver Gavin.
Absolutely, and I think this is what's great about the GT1 World Championship. We've got a lot of guys with a lot of experience in various different forms of motorsport, but they do generally have a lot of GT racing experience, and that's why we've got these great racing going on.
Battle for the lead. Well, there isn't really much of a battle for the lead per se at the moment. Frederic Makovecki still holds a 5.5 second advantage over Clivio Piccioni in second place. The Aston Martin over the Corvette, but the Corvette of Piccioni has just set the fastest lap of the race at 2 minutes 0.6, just one lap ago, so that gap has come down a little bit. And meanwhile, in third place, Bertolini holding on in the Maserati, and then Jos Menton in car number 25. That is the best place of the Lamborghinis, in fourth place, ahead of Michael Hesselman's in the best of the Corvettes, who's moved his way up to fifth. Well, here's a battle toward the end of the top 10. Ninth place there for Andreas Suber, who has taken over from Mark Henrici, and behind them Michael Krum, who's made, of course, a drive-through pit stop. So Michael Krum looking to make up that ground that he lost with that extra stop into the pit lane.
Now, it's interesting how when you try, and like what Mike was trying to do was go on his outside, so the Corvette didn't actually move to the outside, which he didn't do, and then he's got a little chance possibly of getting him down on the inside here. Didn't work out this lap, but it wasn't far off, and it's all these little things of pressure and trying to position the driver in front of you so they don't actually get the proper drive out of the corner, which then gives you an opportunity to pass. And Michael is one of those who's got a wealth of experience in mainly Japanese GT, and he's a very, very competent driver, and I think he will put that pressure on, hopefully for him, but not for too long.
You're absolutely right. Just 16 minutes and 20 seconds remaining in the race here. This battle still rages with the Lamborghini, the Corvette, and a pair of Nissans, hungry Nissans, trying to move back up the order. They were running so strong in the early stages, but pit stops for a couple of them. These are the two Swiss racing Nissans, not quite on the same pace, it would appear, this weekend, with the Sumo GT cars of car numbers 22, 23 and 24, with Michael Krum and Peter Dumbreck, and their teammates as well, which will be Warren Hughes and Jamie Campbell-Walter. Is he close enough here going into Copse?
It's possible. It's just Copse is a bit quick. Really, no, he's not going to be quite close enough as I thought. But I think now he's just got to try and keep close. The exit of Copse now, it's important to get that drive out. I think because he tried to do a half pass, he's probably going to lose out a little bit. Now it's going to be interesting, and what he's got to do, especially here on this left-hander, Beckett's, and the right-hander especially onto the straight, this is where he's got that chance if he can. But I think the Corvette does look quite secure. as he exits and goes on to Hangar Straight.
Yeah, this is a great battle going on. There's all sorts of battles going on, actually. This is the battle for 9th and 10th. Andreas Zuber and Michael Krum, both hugely experienced drivers, but Andreas Zuber's, most of his is in open wheel cars. Most of Michael Krum's is in closed wheel cars, but you wouldn't know it judging from the very races and the driving this weekend. Zuber did a stunning job a couple of weeks ago in Abu Dhabi. Came away with a podium finish on his debut in GT racing, and here now is a look at Darren Turner in car number 7. He's just set the fastest lap of the race at 2 minutes 0.536, and he is running in 7th overall. Let's look at the standings. It's still the 2 Aston Martins out in front, then Maserati, then Lamborghini, then Corvette, and then the best of the Nissans. In 7th place is Darren Turner, and then the Lamborghini again behind him is Peter Cox at the wheel right now, the Corvette with Andreas Zuber. Then in 10th place, another of the Nissans, Michael Krum, then Enrique Bernoldi for Maserati and Xavier Masson for Corvette. And behind Xavier Masson is Oliver Gavin there in 13th place, Christophe Beauchou and Henry Moser behind him in Maserati and Ford GT respectively. So there's battles all the way down the field, and Darren Turner looking to make up for that second extra pit stop. He's up into 7th place at the moment. He's got another couple of cars very close ahead of him on the road.
Yeah, and this is where he's got a chance now of getting back. I think the speed of the car, he's definitely good at the moment. They don't seem to have as big a issue, I think, as Thomas had mentioned, with their tyre degradation or their tyres going off. So I think it seems to be they can drive it very, very hard, and Darren will push very hard. But it's going to be still very difficult because, as I said before, some of these cars, they're quicker in some parts of the track, and hopefully you can be quicker in the right place. And this is the right place.
Yeah,
there
the
you
Aston
go.
Martin's got good straight line speed. 2 British drivers side by side down into Stowe Corner, but on the inside line with the preferred line, one would have thought, is the Aston Martin. Warren Hughes trying to hold on, not able to do so. Johnny, what a great pass that was.
Well, they're still side by side, and he's got the inside line. So I think it's going to be interesting to see. Oh, around the outside. There you go. That was a surprise.
And smart driving there from Darren Turner. He knew that Warren Hughes was the inside. He left him plenty of room down the inside. And Warren Hughes, also a consummate professional, he could have been tempted to lunge down the inside. He was left plenty of room there, but there was no contact, no harm, no foul.
No, definitely not. Good, proper race. You know, here they're side by side. You thought Darren was through, and then Warren obviously kept it in. Ran a little bit wide here, but was still able to keep on the power. And then as they exit, they're side by side once again, going into down into Val.
Again, 2 true professionals there, I think. That shows that those 2 class drivers both on. They leave each other room. You know, if you can make the pass, fine. But you're not making it easy, but at the same time having the respect of their fellow professionals.
Absolutely. That's what it should be all about, is the respect to the other driver, but have a race,
Here's that battle again. It's Christophe Beauchou with the 2 Nissans all over his rear end there. We're on board with Carl Wendling, I think, is in car number 3, or is there Seiji Ara on board with car number 4. And his car seems to be moving around quite a bit.
But you can see he's quite aggressive with the car, though, with the way that he steers the car, and even, to be honest, the way he sort of slams the gearbox as well. It's not sort of a rhythmic type of driving, and I think because of that he's having a few little flicks of oversteer, which is just obviously causing him just to not quite carry the speed that he needs to be able to pass the car in front.
It's a great battle here with these 2 Swiss racing team teammates in the Nissan. Car numbers 3 and 4, Carl Wendlinger and Seiji Ara, and they're giving these cars all they can handle. It's only a battle for 14th, 15th and 16th, but boy, what a battle it is.
Oh, it is, yeah. Well, they're fighting hard for it, and I thought the problem is, when he keeps getting those little oversteer kinks, he's really warming up his tyres a bit too much, so he's probably going to lose out a little bit more, because there he goes again, and he's sort of risking it big time, but he's actually making it worse for himself, because he's making the tyres get too hot, they're going off, and he's probably going to lose that long term.
Interesting though, wasn't it? I mean, Ara, he thinks he's got a quicker car than Wendlinger. He looked at the inside there, he dived it down on the inside under braking for Kops, and Wendlinger, he was having none of it.
And Kops as well. Kops is it's a high-speed corner. To try and dive down the inside there, you've got to be very, very brave and Japanese. There you go. Oh, that was close. That was close.
But should Wendlinger have let him go in that instance or not?
No, you don't do that type of thing at that type of corner because it's somewhere that is high speed. You can't slip down the inside like you can at a slow speed. Maybe now. There you go. So that's much easier to do that. But he didn't. I could see that coming. He didn't commit enough. And when you're up against someone like Carl, you know, unfortunately who's lost out there, you know, he's going to try and cut across. He didn't quite commit himself enough there.
Yeah, there you go. And
but he got away with it.
Well, yeah, apparently no damage to those cars, but it certainly cost Wendlinger a huge amount of time, and he was already frustrated running back in the pack. He wants to be running up at the front. He's won the Tourist Trophy here at Silverstone the last 2 years with two completely different cars. He won it 2 years ago for the Jet Alliance team and Aston Martin, last year with the Celine, and here on board with Michael Krum.
Yeah, and we're going into Copse once again behind the Lamborghini, and it's something that Michael's he's not quite quick enough in the right places. The Nissan is quite a big top-heavy car, so you've got the roll centre is very, very high compared to that Lamborghini that is about 3 inches off the floor. It's a very low car, as you can see here. He looks like a big truck behind him, but the way that they seem to have been able to set this car up, obviously is working quite well at the moment. But are they going to pass that Lamborghini? Well, we're going to have to see. He's not quite quick enough. Again, on an opportunity of slipstreaming down the hangar straight.
Yeah, this is a couple of battles here coming down into Stowe Corner. Down the inside goes the Corvette. A great move there. That is Andreas Struber trying to find a way through, and he does so. And then is the battle for 9th and 10th places.
Michael there is nice and close now, so if he can just keep that close, that Lamborghini just accelerates a little bit faster out of club itself. But now the Abbey, the right-hander coming up to it, if he can get close enough there, he's then got a good chance. So hopefully he's no, I don't think he's going to quite do it. He's not going to get close enough for the right-hander but coming up now, because that's a good opportunity to overtake. Lamborghini, there you go, he's trying to protect the position, but nearly kissing each other, I think, there. But again, I think he overprotected it. He didn't need to protect. It's funny. You've got to be so aware.
And that's the thing, isn't it? He's trying to pressure the Lamborghini into a mistake. We've seen a few little sideways moments from that Lamborghini, but not enough to give an advantage for Michael Krum to make the pass. And the Lamborghini does seem to be very quick on a straight line, but down under braking for Brooklands. Whoa!
Another one. That's an experience with Peter as well. And we'll see if he's going to be very hard for Peter to get back now in front of Michael in the Nissan, because it's very hard to get out of Luffield here down the pit straight.
Yeah, I think Michael's been a little bit quicker in any case. He's just been looking for that advantage to get through and take away that position. He finally does so. So 8th place now for Michael Krum, having taken over from Peter Dumbreck in the Nissan GTR. He's one position behind Jamie Campbell-Walter and Warren Hughes. So the two Sumo Power GT Nissans running in 7th and 8th places on the first time they've raced on home soil here in the UK.
Yeah, and that was good professional driving. I think, he committed himself down the inside. Peter sort of tried to lean on him a little bit. Then he gave him, we'll see here. So Michael sort of pulls out. It's a long sort of entry that tightens up on the left. Michael's getting the inside. Peter gave him a little bit of room, and through he goes. Very professional driving, and good to see.
Yeah, it wasn't a big gap, was it? He really had to work for it. But again, respect between those two, as opposed to.
Oh. Here we go. I think that was early with Carl.
Yeah, interesting. There's certainly no doubt that Carl Wendlinger is the senior driver in that squad, no question about it. But it's a Japanese car, and it's a Japanese driver who's trying to make that pass. So whether that was politically correct for Carl Wendlinger to close the door on his teammates, particularly when it's for 15th and 16th places, one wonders.
I think we should leave early. I think it's quite an interesting box. Carl won't be happy, that's for sure.
Which is some darker clouds gathering to the west as well. So we're going to hope, you see a bit of a glimpse there from that onboard shot. There's some clouds building. We're going to hope it doesn't rain this afternoon. We came into the weekend, we've been told by the weather forecast, the wonderful English weather forecast, there might be some rain. But here's another battle for position here, and that again is the Sumo Power car down to the inside. That is Warren Hughes making that pass.
Yeah, we've got 5.5 minutes still to go. And it's good. The racing's been actually very good in the last, what, 10, 15, 20 minutes. You know, there's been a lot of overtaking, and these guys are starting to push. Some of them started a little bit low down. I think we've got Darren Turner now up into fifth position, so he's moving up.
He is. He's just found his way past Warren Hughes there for 5th place. So it's still Frederick Makowiecki in the Aston Martin number 9. The teammate, Livio Piccioni, handed over to Jonathan Hirschi in 2nd place in car number 10. There's an Aston Martin 1-2. 3rd place, Andrea Bertolini for Maserati, and then Jos Menton in 4th place, the Lamborghini. Darren Turner in 5th, Warren Hughes in 6th for Nissan, the Corvette in 7th place. Running well, a good comeback there for Hazemans, the Dutchman. Michael Krum in 8th, and behind Michael Krum in 9th, Peter Cox in the Lamborghini.
No, it's been a good race. So for the Maserati, the Vitaphone Maserati with Michael Bartels at the wheel at the moment, it's been a good race for them, because I think they didn't look quite as strong as I expected them to be, but they've done a very good, competent race, and I think they should be in good. It puts them in good stead for tomorrow.
Yeah, very, very true. And you know, it's tomorrow that pays the big points. It's 8 points for the victory today, 6 points for 2nd and 4 for 3rd, which is certainly very important indeed. But for tomorrow, it's 25 points up for grabs for the race winner.
Yeah, and I think they put them in themselves in a good position in 3rd place, and I think they should be able to hold on to that. I'm sure they'll be trying to push to see if they can get a little bit further up. But for tomorrow, I think it's going to be an interesting one, because we've got a nice mixture of cars up there and drivers of various experiences.
There's the gap between the 2nd and 3rd place cars. Jonathan Hirschi in 2nd place. Michael Bartels on board with him in 3rd in the Maserati. Just about 3.5 seconds between them. Last time around, Bertolini was about 0.3 of a second quicker, and with time ticking away, just 3.5 minutes to go, 0.3 of a second a lap isn't enough to wrest away that 2nd place.
No, it's not, but as we can see, the Aston Martin's coming up towards the GT40, which has got a lap, and that could cause an issue if he meets him in the wrong place. Then Michael can close that gap, and then we've got a good race on for the end of the race.
Yeah, we've got another battle going on also for 4th and 5th, because Darren Turner is closed up onto the tail of Jos Menton. But here is the 2nd place car, as you said, coming up to lap that mark to be the S car. It is already a lap down. Here comes Darren Turner to the inside. Perfect move once again from the Englishman.
Yeah, nicely committed once again, and an easy overtake for him.
It's been a great comeback drive by Darren Turner, but with no taking away from the fact they threw away a potential victory here with not one drive-through penalty and one stop and go as well. Just total disaster. It should have been way out in front at this stage, and right now the best they can do is a still very creditable 4th place. But they came into the weekend, they scored no points in Abu Dhabi. The big key for the weekend for that young driver AMR team was to score championship points, and they've thrown away a possible 8 this afternoon.
Yeah, definitely so. We've got Warren Hughes here behind the Lamborghini. He's got a little bit closer, committed, and there you go, he's through. So finally he's got past that Lamborghini. So again, that's going to be a good position for them for tomorrow. And I think it's just a typical mental situation of moving up the ladder and getting yourself in a good mental position for tomorrow.
Yeah, so Jos Menton's lost a couple of positions on this lap, and they're looming large behind him as well is that the bright yellow Corvette of the very experienced Mike Hazemans, and he's been around this sport a long, long time. Here's another replay of that pass by Warren Hughes.
Yeah, and it's a nice one. That's a new arena complex. It's actually allowing these cars to overtake, so it's actually making the race very, very good. And I think it's exciting for the race fans out there watching, and obviously you guys watching at home.
Yeah, no question about it. There's replay that pass being completed. There is our race leader. We haven't seen him for a while. That's because he's been well out on his own. Frederick Makowiecki. He's driven quite beautifully since he took over the wheel of that car. He's 29 years old. He's from Paris in France. He's a former French Carrera Cup contender for many years in actual fact. Won a lot of races in Porsches, and now up into GT1. This is, of course, his first season in the GT1 World Championship. First full season with the Hector's Aston Martin team, and he's really doing a beautiful job.
Yeah, definitely. Very consistent, which is a good thing. Holds it in good stead for him for tomorrow's race as well, because that consistency is very good, because it's very good for the tyres, because you are basically looking after them in the same manner every single lap. So I think that's why that consistency has been there, because he's been very sort of smooth with the car.
He has, and you can see there the gap between the two Hexis AMR teams. This team based down at Lednot in the south coast of France, and there's a contact there. It's Enrique Bernoldi driving car number 2. He's trying to fight his way back up the order after a pretty mediocre opening stint by Miguel Ramos. He's able to do that, get himself inside the top 10, but contact there with Peter Cox.
Yeah, well, that was sort of a little bit unnecessary, a little bit sort of over-aggressive, I would say, and maybe he's got away with it. I can see there's a bit of damage on the back of that Maserati, a bit hanging off. I think we're coming up, is this the last lap I think we're on? So we're coming up to the end of the race. Yeah, very optimistic. Oh, yeah, very optimistic.
Came from a long way behind, didn't it?
Yeah, very long, too far behind. You see that bit flapping at the back of the car.
Yeah, that was, I think, a little bit unnecessary. The time certainly is ticking away here. We're going to be waiting to see the leaders come through. We're on the final lap for Frederic Makowiecki, and you can see the gap now between the two Hexis Aston Martins has come down appreciably. Makowiecki just taking it easy on this final lap. All he has to do now, Johnny Herbert, is make sure he doesn't make a mistake.
Yeah, no, I think, well, he's in a wonderful rhythm at the moment, and I think it's something that rhythm will continue until that flag drops. So it was a great drive, because I think at the end of the day there've been a lot of incidents in this race, and they've done the right thing. They haven't made any errors, they haven't crossed any lines that they shouldn't do, and they've done the best job today, for sure.
It's been a great day, certainly so far, for Aston Martin. They claimed the pole position with Darren Turner. They were both cars on the front row. This car started alongside on the front row, and since the drop of the green lights, it has been Aston Martin's out in front, dominating proceedings. And as you say, this French team has really done a super job. There's not as much experience in the driving lineup, but it's the less experienced drivers that come through without making any major errors. And now coming onto the Wellington Straight for the final time, Frederic Makowiecki, you can see the gap back to second place, and Clivio Piccioni, and it's looking like just a historic 1-2 for this team. Just a couple or 3 corners to go now. Right-handed now through Luffield 1, onto the start-finish straight. Just get the power on smoothly, up through the gears, and it'll be just Woodcote Corner to go. And it's got just a couple of 100 yards. It's coming up to the checkered flag. It's been a magnificent drive. And there, in round 2 of the GT1 World Championship, victory to Hexis Aston Martin Racing and Frederic Makowiecki and Thomas Zachary in second place. Their teammates, Jonathan Hirsch and Clivio Piccioni, and in third place, just 1.3 seconds behind, a very quick final lap there for Andrea Bertolini and Michael Bartels in the Maserati for third place.
We still have a fight here. The Nissan's trying to do it. They're nearly side by side. He's not going to go around the outside. If he does, that would be a marvellous move. He's going to try. There you go. Is he going to do it?
7th and 8th is his fourth.
Wonderful.
Hazelman's giving him
I don't know if he's going
there.
to quite. Yeah, he's on the wrong side. I think that Corvette's just got that little extra bit of speed. Great finish. Great finish.
Great driver. Yeah, the Corvette had the inside line, the shorter distance, didn't he, to the checkered flag? But great racing from start to finish, and it's Hazelman's who holds on there by 0.1 of a second, just 1/10 of a second after an hour of racing between the 7th and 8th place.
Yeah, so I can see the arm gestures. He's not happy.
No. He's not happy, but the Vitaphone Maserati team there, pretty content, I would say, with another third place finish. That's exactly what they need, is consistent point scoring to put themselves in position for the championship. They came away 2 weeks ago in Abu Dhabi with a third place in the qualifying race and fourth in the feature championship race later on in the day, as it was actually in Abu Dhabi. So they've got good championship points coming into this weekend, third in the points table, despite the fact they finished fourth in the championship race 2 weeks ago. But this time it's nothing but Aston Martin. Frederic Makowiecki, what a great drive that was. He's a relatively unheralded driver. He's had a handful of races in GT1 before this weekend, but this far and away his best performance, his first appearance even on the podium, and he's going to come away with a victory.
Yeah, I think it was a very mature drive by both drivers, to be honest. I think they both put in a sterling effort. They put themselves in a position and they took the advantage when it was given to them.
presume that's a bit of
Maserati.
Yes. Leaving some debris around the racetrack. You can see a lot of rubber marbles there thrown off the tyres as this race progresses. So we heard some of the drivers talk about tyre wear the last couple of days, but certainly the lap times through that race pretty consistent all the way through it.
Yeah, I think pretty much for everybody. There didn't seem to be anybody. We only saw it on the first part where it looked like Thomas was struggling a little bit towards the end, but overall in this second part with the second drivers in the car, there didn't seem to be that big issue.
Here are the overall standings. So it's Aston Martin 1-2, a team 1-2 for Hex's AMR team. Frederick Makowiecki takes the checker flag ahead of Jonathan Hirschi and the Bertolini Maserati in third. Then it's Aston Martin fourth, Nissan fifth, Lamborghini sixth, Corvette in seventh, Nissan again in eighth place, ninth place for Enrique Bernoldi in the Maserati, 10th for Lamborghini, followed by two more Corvettes. Andreas Zuber and Xavier Masson come home 11th and 12th. Another Corvette in 13th place, that's Oliver Gavin, who finished off that drive having taken over from Petit Guzman. He did a good job towards the end. Then a couple of Nissans, the Maserati in 16th place after problems early on for Matteo Bobbi. Christophe Bauchou also problems in the Lamborghini. The Ford GT there, way down in 19th place. Schwager for Lamborghini in 20th, and Romain Grosjean, the winner 2 weeks ago, comes home in 21st.
I know, but Ford GT, we just haven't seen much of them. The only time we saw them was when they were being lapped. Unbelievable.
It is unbelievable. We did see the lap times yesterday. They were nowhere, the Fords, but if you put all the split times together, they did have a very quick lap that we wondered perhaps whether they were sandbagging to some degree yesterday, not showing their full hand until they got into the official proceedings today, but it hasn't worked out that way. Those cars have definitely been off the pace today.
Exactly, but I think it's typical of coming from Abu Dhabi, very different temperatures, and coming here to a much cooler Silverstone, and it's possible they can't get the tyres to work for them, and that's always something that is quite difficult in these cars. You need to get a car that uses the tyres in the right manner so you can get the speed, but you don't want it to use it either too much, because then they will actually start to go off, or if they don't use the tyre enough, you can't get the grip and you can't go fast. That looks as if the cooler temperatures don't suit that GT40.
That's exactly right. All the cars here being guided into Parc Fermé. There's no one allowed to touch these cars now. The scrutineers will go over to make sure everything is legal on those cars. The drivers will clamber out and rejoin their teams, and the top three will go to the podium. One of the guys who will not go to the podium, however, is Darren Turner. It was a great comeback through the field after those two additional pit stops as a result of the penalties they incurred on their way into pit lane. But it's fourth place that Darren Turner and Thomas Enger will have to be content with in this qualifying race this afternoon. It's still, however, the main race is still tomorrow, and starting from fourth on the grid is certainly not going to be bad news for that young driver AMR crew, car number 7.
No, I think that was a very good race result today. I think it's leading up to being a very interesting race when we come tomorrow. So
down to the pit lane, Haley.
Congratulations, Fred. How was that race for you?
Yeah, a really good race. It's fantastic for the team. Thank you very much, Exis Racing and Aston Martin Racing. The car is incredible during all the race, and it's really good for us. The first season for us, and the first place at the qualifying race. Fantastic.
And a 1-2 for the team as well in the Aston.
Yeah. It's really good. We don't in their dream. We don't think that it's possible for us, and really fantastic.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, certainly was a job. Thank you, Haley, there with Frederick Makowiecki, who did a sensational job in that race. It was just he's got a different co-driver this weekend. He drove with the team manager Philippe Dumas in Abu Dhabi and came home in 14th place, but that was a great run today for that team. Maserati there finished finally in third place, and in second place was the team car for Hex's AMR, Livio Piccioni and Jonathan Hirschi. It's going to go down to the pit lane with Andrea Bertolini is with Haley. Hex's team has just a magnificent 1-2 finish today. They've not put a wheel wrong. The drivers have been perfect. The teams have been perfect, and they've come away with a magnificent 1-2 finish. In third place, and it's Bertolini with Haley.
Congratulations, Andrea. How was the Maserati on track for you?
That was good. Also, the balance, you know, we worked very hard for the balance during the race. We was happy. We had just a problem in the pit. Probably, I don't know, the engines will start really bad, not quick, like the usual, and we lose 3-4 seconds. Otherwise, it will be possible to finish second. But anyway, I tell you also before the start, it's really important to score point every round, also in the qualifying race, because the championship will be really long and point every round.
Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you.
And that's exactly what they have done. It's 3 points scoring events they've had so far. Just one championship round in the books, but they've scored points in all 3 races. A 1-2 for Aston Martin, Maserati in 3rd place, another Aston in 4th. It's a wonderful day for Hexis Racing AMR. Bertolini Bartels for Maserati, then Darren Turner and Thomas Enger. Nissan comes home a sterling 5th place, and that is a great run for the Sumo Power GT team of Warren Hughes and Jamie Campbell-Walter. The Wright Engineering Lamborghini in 6th with Joss Menton and Frank Ketcherly. Corvette Racing comes home in 7th place. Mike Hazelman's Anthony Kumpen, Michael Krum and Peter Dombrek for Nissan in 8th place. The second of the Vitaphone Maseratis, Enrico Benoldi, a bold pass in the closing stages, gets him up to 9th place ahead of Peter Cox and Christian Haas in the Lamborghini. And then rounding out the top 12, a pair of Corvettes, Andreas Duber and Mark Henrici, followed in 12th place by Xavier Masson and Nicolas Armindo from France. In 13th place, the Mad Croc Racing Corvette started off by Pertti Kuzmanian, finished off with Oliver Gavin at the wheel, running some very quick laps at the end. Then the pair of Swiss racing team Nissans, car number 4 ahead of car number 3, they too had contact. Then the only finishing Triple H team Maserati in 16th place, Matteo Bobbi and Bert Longin. And in 17th, the Lamborghini, Christophe Beauchou finished off that race. And then the 2 Mark VDS Ford GTs in 18th and 19th. Marcus Paltala and Renaud Kuppens and Bas Leinders and Maxime Martin. That certainly is not what they wanted to be, 1 lap down at the finish. Also 1 lap down, Dominic Schwager and Nicky Pastorelli for Lamborghini. Then the Maytech Ford GT of Thomas Much and Romain Grosjean 2 laps down at the finish after problems. And then farther back in the order as well, Alfred Hager and Alex Margaritis 9 laps down showing up the finish. So they did get that car back out into the fray. And rounding out the field, Stefan Mucker and Christian Nygaard in the second of the young driver AMR Aston Martins. So that is the qualifying race in the books. Another pit lane. Here is Haley.
Thomas, after that race, there's certainly no pressure on you for race 2.
Yeah, I'm really happy. Fred make a perfect job. I was here for 2 learning, and the car was perfect. It's incredible. Really good work with the team on the Aston Martin. Thank you, everybody, and
Thank you.
Great stuff there. Thomas Akaria was a great drive by him. He doesn't have much experience in that car at all. His first race, indeed, with the team in a GT1 Aston Martin, but it was certainly a great performance by him. You wouldn't know he was a rookie in this championship and in that car. Let's have a look at the highlights from today's race, of which there were plenty of the qualifying race here at Silverstone, the home of British motor racing. And we saw all the atmosphere at the start with smiles all around. A pretty good crowd on hand as well, and there's a lot of action ready to unfold in this 1-hour qualifying race. So Darren Turner there, who started from the pole position, he led away at the start. Incident at the first corner took out one of the Triple H car Maseratis there and delayed a couple of others, with all sorts of highlights and good battling all the way through the field, Johnny.
No, definitely so, and I think it was something that the race got more exciting towards the end because we saw some real racing going on, and we saw it all the way through until the end. We saw the Darren Turner after their complete and utter mistake that they made, and they came back very, very strong. And it was good to see all the overtaking that we saw on the racetrack, and I think it looks to me as if we're going to have a good race tomorrow.
Yeah, there was most of the pit stops were pretty clean, but coming into the pits, some mistakes by several drivers, and that certainly cost the pole winner absolutely drastically. And it ends up with a Hexis Aston Martin racing 1-2 in today's qualifying race. The championship race will take place tomorrow afternoon. That's when the big points are scored. and it's been just action from start to finish. There's all the different brands here battling it out together and just making for a spectacular race for the fans.
Yeah, I think he's going to make it fascinating for tomorrow, because I think the drivers, some of them haven't got much experience in these cars. They're probably the first time in these cars, as you said, Jeremy, and I think tomorrow it will actually make it more interesting because these guys will be more comfortable.
Yeah, we've seen the Nissans battling away as they were for a long, long time. Finally, they came together down at Club Corner there. I think there's certainly going to be some words said in that camp this evening. The battling also too from the Nissans of the sister team, the Sumo Power team. But there is Peter Dunbrack. He made that mistake coming into the pits, which cost his car quite badly in the end, but they came back to finish well inside the top 10. There's another contender, Enrique Benoldi, the ex-Formula 1 driver, making a very bold pass in the late stages. Still does finish in the top 10. It's been an exciting race this afternoon. Johnny Herbert, thanks for joining me. My name is Jeremy Shaw. We hope you've enjoyed the action in the qualifying race from Silverstone, and we will be back for a lot more tomorrow afternoon here from the home of the British Grand Prix at Silverstone.